So I was in the supermarket the other day and I saw this can of tuna for $25. And I immediately thought to myself, could $25 can of tuna really be worth it? So in this video, we're gonna check out 4 different price points of tuna, ranging from the budget $1.50 can all the way up to this luxury $25 can to see, is the high price tag actually worth it? We're gonna take a look at the tuna. We're gonna make one of my favorite tuna sandwiches, which is a tuna melt. And then we're gonna do a blind taste test to see, can I taste the difference in between the cheapest and the most expensive tuna? For all the ingredients in this video, check the description box below. But enough talking, let's get cooking. So for this comparison video to be a real comparison video, we gotta check out just like our regular, most generic tuna. And so this is just bumblebee tuna, chunk white, albacore. You can see that this one is filled with water. It's pretty broken up tuna. It's not, there's no big like chunks in here. If we drain it out and get the water out, sometimes I like to make like pastas or marinades and stuff like this because it's flavorful liquid. You can use it a lot of different ways in the kitchen. It just tastes like salty tuna water. It's actually pretty good. This is delicious. I love tuna. You can see that our tuna, it's pretty broken up. It's not very solid. This is definitely not like cut off a chunk of tuna. This is definitely a bunch of big pieces that they just ground up and stuck in there. And if we give it just a little bit of a taste test before we make that tuna melt, this just tastes like your average regular tuna. There's definitely nothing special here. So now let's move up the price point chain. Let's check out $3 tuna, which is almost twice as expensive as this. This is also a Bumblebee brand product. This is Bumblebee's Prime, so they're already marketing it as like an elevated or like better tuna. Let's open it up. Let's see what it looks like. Let's drain it. So on quick visual inspection as I'm draining it, the tuna looks way more solid than the first can. There's definitely a bigger piece right here, even though it is a little loose. The tuna water tastes really similar, but I would say it's actually a little bit more flavorful. It almost has like a brothy feel to it, or it's got a little bit more layers of flavor than just that like tuna flavored salt water. So I can already taste the difference in between the two. If we eat a little bit of the tuna, you can see that I had to dig in there a little bit. It's definitely a more solid piece. Even though this is more solid, it tasted exactly the same as the $1.50 can and didn't taste twice as expensive. It actually tasted really similar. Even though the tuna water was a little different, this tasted very, very similar to that $1.50 can. Let's go 3 times more expensive than this, and let's check out a $10 can of tuna. So now this is the same brand as the $25 can of tuna, except this one's only 10 bucks. They're the same size and it's still white tuna, but let's open it up and let's see what it looks like compared to the cheaper cans. This one is packed in oil and the other 2 were packed in water because I wanted the tuna to be as similar as possible, but they did come with different oil and water. So in all fairness, this one's packed in oil, which is probably going to be a little bit more flavorful. As I'm draining the oil, you can clearly see that this is a much more solid piece of tuna. Big tuna chunks. This was not a bunch of scraps that were jammed in the can. This is a really nice looking piece. So if we taste just a little bit of the oil, it just tastes like oil and it really doesn't taste much like tuna at all. The tuna water was actually a little bit better. And if we take a little bite of it, it's definitely more flavorful. Probably got a little bit of salt in there. And I also think the oil is also enhancing the flavor a little bit. But let's see what even 2.5 times more than this buys us. Let's check out that $25 can of tuna. I've been waiting to open this up all day. I can't wait to see what's inside this can. The packaging on this is really, really nice, but I ain't buying the packaging. I'm buying the tuna inside. I mean, for $25, it's a pretty standard can. So if we open it and we take a look inside, we can already see that it's a little bit different. It's not cut like a chunk, although you can see the little individual fibers of the tuna that were packed into this can. It's definitely way more solid than the previous 2. If we drain out the oil, for $25, everything in this can better be delicious. So let's check out what this tuna oil tastes like. I mean, the oil's nothing remarkable, kind of tastes really similar to the other one. So if we take a look inside the can, you could see that this is definitely cut from one big piece, but it's a little bit more like flaked out, and it doesn't look as solid as the other one. I'm not too sure what to make of that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's taste a little bit of it. Even just touching it with the spoon, it's way more flaky. It's definitely not as solid. The flavor is great, but the real big difference is the texture. The texture on that is unbelievable. This is like the difference in between steak that's just regular, like prime steak, and like A5 Wagyu. The flavor is enhanced and the texture is unbelievable. The texture on that was definitely noticeable. So I normally don't just eat tuna out of a can, although sometimes I do. I usually make tuna salad, and my favorite sandwich is a tuna melt. So now let's make 4 different tuna salads. We'll take that tuna salad, we'll turn it into 4 tuna melts, and we'll do a blind taste test to see, can I taste the difference in between the cheapest can, the other price points, and this other can that's almost 20 times more than our cheapest. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our food processor, we're gonna process all the vegetables for all 4 of these, and to make it nice and easy, I'm gonna do enough of these to make all 4 cans. We're gonna help the food processor out a little bit, and we're gonna cut these into small chunks. Don't throw whole carrots in the food processor. Now we're gonna do the same with some celery. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna cut these into small pieces, and these are also gonna go right inside the food processor. We're gonna throw in some red onion. You can use white onion, but red onion's always good too. Tastes delicious, and it's got a nice pop of color. It's really mild onion. It's great to eat raw. So now we're gonna take this half onion, we'll just cut it into chunks. Usually I put about 1/8 of an onion in, so this half onion should be enough for the whole salad. So now I'm gonna pulse this down. Once it gets a little chopped up, I'm gonna push everything down and in. At this point too, we're also gonna add our fresh parsley leaves. And I'm just gonna pull the leaves off and push them right in. And this is basically the same recipe I did for my chicken salad video. You can get that recipe right up there. So I'm just gonna push this into the roughly chopped stuff, give it another pulse or two. And now let's use this to make our 4 tuna salads, and then we'll take those, make those into tuna melts, and then we'll see, is this $25 can really worth it? Is this gonna be the best tuna melt ever? All right, now let's start assembling these tuna salads. I'm gonna start off by dumping the tuna from each one of these cans into the bowl. Now let's take a spoonful of our carrot, celery, onion, and parsley. Put like 2 spoonfuls in each one. Now let's start dressing this up and cream it up. Let's use some avocado oil mayonnaise, and I'm just gonna use a spoonful in each one. And I like to cut my mayo with a little 0% Greek yogurt. I feel like it adds a nice creamy texture, and it cuts the calories a little bit, also bumps the protein. Yogurt and sour cream taste really, really similar. If you don't have any yogurt, you can use sour cream. Spoonful of some Dijon mustard. And a little pickle relish. Now we're gonna put a pinch of some dry dill. You can use the fresh stuff too. And finish it up with some salt and pepper. Now let's give each one of these a mix. With that first one, I really didn't have to break up any of the tuna. It was all very broken up already. With this one, I'm gonna try to like smash down the bigger pieces. With this $10 can of tuna, it's also the same thing, but there's probably even like more and harder chunks in there. So it's definitely more solid, but I don't know, after breaking it up, is that really gonna make a difference? And this one, even though it was solid, this tuna is flaking so amazing. I don't know if that's a feature of like a can of tuna that I want, that it like flakes easy, but I can definitely tell that it's just coming apart really easy with no effort. Now let's make a tuna melt with a nice slice of tomato. For a bread, we're gonna use my favorite white bread. This is Dave's Killer Bread. This is an awesome bread in the supermarket. It's organic and it's got a little bit more texture to it, even though it's white bread. I'm not a big Wonder Bread fan. It's just too soft for me. I actually have teeth. So I got my oven on broiler. We're gonna take this bread and we're gonna toast one side of it, and then we're gonna put it back in there to toast the other side with the tuna on it. While those are toasting in the oven, this is the perfect time to slice these tomatoes. Remember, tomatoes, the ultimate test to see if your knife is sharp, because you gotta cut nice thin slices. So if your knife is not sharp, check out my knife sharpening video that I just made, where I compare 3 different ways of how to sharpen a knife. So now that these are a little toasted on one side, I'm gonna flip them and we're gonna make our tuna melts. Just so we don't get confused at any point, I'm gonna take this little piece of aluminum foil. I'm gonna mark one side, and I'm gonna start here with the $25 tuna and go all the way down this way to the $1.50 tuna. And we're not gonna mix these up until right before the blind taste test. So now 2 slices of tomato on each one. A little pinch of salt on the tomatoes. Now for cheese, we're gonna go classic American cheese. So now these are gonna go in the oven under the broiler till we toast up the other part of the bread and these get nice and melty. So these are all done. You can see we got nice color on the bread. The cheese is nice and melty. So now let's get these on some plates and mix them up. So now we have our plates labeled. So I got the $25 one, $10 one, $3, $1. So this is our $25 tuna. Once these are made, these are basically indistinguishable. Here's our 10, 3, and $1.50. Before mixing these up, I want to cut them because I think the best bite to make into the sandwich is that middle bite, and that's going to be our really premier test bite. All right, now I'm going to blindfold up and mix these up. Even at this point, I've already lost track of which one's which. All right, let's start with our one all the way over here on the right. I've never eaten a sandwich that I couldn't see. This is harder than it looks. This is a delicious tuna melt, but I don't have anything to compare it to. All right, now I got my first one underneath me. I got an idea. Let's check out this next one. That's right here. I could definitely tell the texture of this one's a little bit better. I couldn't say that the flavor's better because they're really similar. Pretty good. I'd say this one's a little bit better than that one. On to our third. This one definitely has like the best tuna flavor. The tuna's got the best tuna flavor, and it's also got the best texture to it. It's soft. I could tell it's tuna. And I wouldn't say that tastes much different than the other ones. And now, all right, these were all really good. I think that my favorite was this one because it had the best tuna flavor and the best texture. And I feel like this one was probably the expensive one based upon like the flavors that I had, but this one was my favorite. These two were basically indistinguishable. So let's see what these were. So this one was the This is the $10 tuna. So the $10 tuna was just basically indistinguishable from whatever that fourth one was. This one was pretty good, but it wasn't my favorite. This was the $1.50 tuna. So this tuna was $1.50, and I liked it a little bit better than the $10 tuna. This is actually really surprising because this is not how I thought this was gonna go. This one was my favorite. It definitely tasted the best and it had the best texture. This is Bumblebee's $3 prime tuna. This was really good. And this one was our $25 tuna. And our $25 tuna was indistinguishable from the $10 tuna. So because they came from the same brand. But my favorites were the $1.50 and $3 tuna. I don't know if it's because it was a little bit more solid, but these were actually the best one. So if you're actually buying tuna, buy that Bumblebee Prime. It's actually really good. In this video, we learned that the $25 tuna is not much better than $10 tuna, but $1.50 and $3 tuna is where it's at. If you like these fun videos, check out my crispy chicken wing series where I do a battle royale to see what ingredient can make wings super crispy in the oven. Thanks, and I'll see you there.